What's going on, sports fans? Westbrook, Four Star Sports Media. Hope everyone is doing well for the Sunday evening show. I know there's some confusion on some other platforms right now. I apologize about that, but welcome to the show. Hope everyone is doing well. It is, John Stradivarius in the house with me. John, another wild weekend in college football. I didn't think it could get any wilder, and here we are. It continues to get more wild. So, John, welcome to the show. As we get started, man, um, give me your thoughts on a wild weekend in college football.
Yeah, Wild Weekend definitely. Rivalry talk, rivalry smack talk, rivalry planted on the field talk. You got coaches throwing flags on the field. You got Sarkeesian running up and down the field to stop his players. You name it, it happened over the weekend, right?
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. We're going to dive into it all tonight as we talk, again, all things college football right here on the Sports Buffet, where you may come and sit down and be hungry, and you're always going to leave full of sports right here on the Four Star Sports Media Network. And we can save you a little bit of money as well. Head on over to SeatGeek. When you do, create you an account, type in promo code Four Star Sports Media. When you do that, for those of you listening, when you do that, it will save you $20 off your first ticket purchase. If you don't believe us, ask John, ask myself, ask others. It does work. It is effective. So, as you can see there on the bottom of the screen on the banner there, it says college football rankings, road trip, and more. Let's start with a little topics, John, a little bit of hot topics. So, we're going to get to one later on in the show, which is coaching, what is going on there, because it's getting wild. Um, really wild.
Mm-hmm.
But let's start here, John. Jason and I talked about it a little bit last night. By the way, great show last night with Jason. Had a blast. We talked about it last night, John. Um, the whole planting a flag. Dabo talked about it today. We were on the ACC coaches call for the championship game upcoming. Dabo talked a little bit about it today. Matter of fact, the reporter that asked him made the statement that Dabo wasn't in the middle of it, and Dabo quickly said, "Hell no, I was right smack dab in the middle of it." He said, "I was defending my people, and it was dangerous." So, you hear other coaches around the country talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, shout out Steve Sarkeesian. I don't know if you all saw our tweet that we retweeted, but Sarkeesian walked over immediately, pointed his finger towards the locker room, and guess what his team did? They didn't bat an eye. They didn't stay. Immediately turned around and went to the locker room. You know what that's called? It's called respect. It's called respect for your program. It's called respect for your head coach. But more importantly, it's a head coach that has control of his team. Just this is just my opinion. I'm not taking shots at any head coaches out there. I don't want anybody, oh, he's taking shots. No, I'm not. Um, but John, what's your thoughts on this, man? Because this is definitely something that I hope we don't see continue. Because based on last weekend or this past weekend, it's not going to end well.
Well, first of all, let me say, let's give credit to the Big Ten Conference by stepping up and penalizing both Ohio State and Michigan 100 grand today. So let's give kudos to the Big Ten Conference by making a statement there in that department by penalizing them $100,000. But I mean, it's going to be hard, I think, to stop that, especially like I don't know if you saw my tweet or not, but a lot of people or a lot of cheerleaders also have team flags as they celebrate touchdowns, during the game and whatnot. Unless you somehow get the cheerleaders' flags away from them also, because you really never know if a cheerleader is going to go out there and stomp a flag in the middle of the field after a game either. So that might be a little bit tough, but if they're smart going forward, I think the cheerleaders would probably have to not use a team flag going forward. Maybe like some letters that spell out their team they can keep instead of their team logo or team, like the blue M with the yellow M, whatnot, as well for like Michigan. But like Kirk Herbstreit brought up, the only way you can probably do this going forward, if this happens again, you might have to suspend a player for their next bowl game or even the college football playoff if that is their next game, that whoever they might be involved. Maybe that'll make them learn a lesson. But this day and age, give kudos to the Big Ten, like I just mentioned, for penalizing Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, once again, for all you watching, I understand this may be labeled as tomorrow's show. It's just a studio that we have built for tomorrow's show. By the way, which will feature Tony Siracusa, the Don, the godfather of college football, as I like to call him. The Don of college football will be on tomorrow to talk Wake Forest, the ACC championship as well. So Tony will be on tomorrow, 9 o'clock a.m. right here on 4 Star Sports Media. John, one more thing before we get into
What was your thoughts on it, though?
man. I mean, number one, I think that you're just asking to incite the behavior that we saw over the weekend. Once you start doing that, once you start planting flags, once you start taking up sod, taking up grass, which is what we're seeing in the Florida State deal, once you start running up and scuffing up the field with your cleats, cleating up the logo, once you start doing that, you're inciting the exact action that we saw this weekend, and it's not honestly, man, it's not. I mean, I'm not blown away by it. I'm not shocked by it. But the way you stop it is you suspend players, you find programs, you find head coaches, you suspend head coaches if it's a
Mhm.
constant issue, and then what you do is you have it set up to where when the game ends, you don't go shake hands. You walk off the field. You go that way. You go that way. It's done. Is it juvenile? Yes. But is that behavior that we saw over the weekend juvenile? Yes. Is that my opinion? Yes.
I also want to say this: the referees, though, are letting a lot of, like I talked about this yesterday. The referees are letting a lot of things go by these days regarding celebrations to people just talking smack to each other. They're not giving nobody like a coach's warning on the sideline or nothing really these days in general in college football.
Yeah, I know. That's a good point. There's a lot of officiating issues, concerns. It's been going on all year.
Oh, I know.
Now, you know, if your team loses, you can make a bet that your fans, in some way, shape, or fashion, are going to go find a holding penalty on second down in the second quarter when they were down 25 points anyway. But doesn't matter. There was a holding penalty, should have been called. There's holding on every single play, folks. It all depends on if the official wants to make the call or not.
Pass interference are letting go by too these days too. They're letting a lot of
They
grabbing
are.
happen too.
A lot of grabbing, a lot of physical play. Which I don't mind physical play if it's consistently called.
Right.
I don't mind physical play if it's okay. The other thing is this: I want to see, and you're starting to see a little more the offensive pass interference because you see more and more guys at the very end extend that arm out to create that separation at the last second, and things like that are now being called. John, we talked about it last night, man, with Jason, and very very interesting stuff took place over the weekend, and it's. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about it tonight when we give our rankings, but what are some things that took place over the weekend, John, that really caught your eye around college football? Maybe a couple of games, a storyline, something like that.
Well, let's just do the storyline first, and then I'll do the my two games. If that's okay with you, or unless you want to do like one storyline each, and then we'll get in the games.
Yeah, it's fine. Just do one
Okay.
storyline each. It's cool.
All right, we'll do the storyline first. And my storyline is how much Georgia Tech and Georgia coaches actually got along after the game, and the players got along after the game too.
Yeah.
Let's just show how much rivalry that rivalry does really hate each other. But the coaches from Coach Smart to Carson Beck to all the quarterback play for Georgia Tech, pretty much Tech had that game won,
Yeah.
and they didn't capitalize on defense when it mattered most, and just how much respect that Georgia Tech. To be honest with you, we thought Georgia Tech would have been the improved team in the ACC this year, other than Syracuse, and it definitely showed how much Georgia Tech has definitely improved under that leadership, at Georgia Tech. But
Oh,
this is,
Brent
yeah,
Key's done an incredible job there. Former offensive line coach, came from Alabama. He's a Saban boy. That tree's. I mean, damn, that's a big ass tree at this point in time. All the coaches that came from Saban. I mean, he had a 20-year rehab facility. Basically, you get
right.
fired and you go work for him as a towel analyst or something, and then you end up with a head coaching job in 2 years, a la Butch Jones. Um,
But they got a lot of respect for each other after the last night or
they do, and
Friday
it
night.
was very refreshing. I'll use that term, to see both coaches be emotional after that game. To watch both guys embrace. Now, keep in mind, both Brent Key graduated from Georgia Tech, and then George, obviously Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
They've experienced that. They understand what the, as it's labeled, clean old fashioned hate, rivalry between Georgia Tech and Georgia. And to me, it's one of the premier rivalry games every season that a lot of people seem to forget about. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because it goes back to Paul Johnson days to Mark Richt days.
Oh
So
man,
it
yeah.
goes
Oh
that
yeah,
far back. So
yeah, 100%. My storyline, and it really comes off today. Talking with Dabo Sweeney, and discussing what he would have to say. Hang on one second, man. Let me see if I can get this pulled up real quick. As a matter of fact, hold on, because I want. I mean, we've talked in depth
mhm.
about Dabo and about, how he at times will, has really neglected the transfer portal, things of that nature. But let's just take a look real quick
Mhm.
at what. Hang on one second. Let me get it pulled up here. This is what Dabo had to say to us today on the ACC media call, and you are going to hear my creepy voice. Hold on. Good afternoon, Coach. Wes Pruitt, Four Star Sports Media. You spoke on it earlier a little bit about the recruiting process, the window moving. Just want to get a little more insight on not only your thought process on the recruiting window moving around, but also on the portal, and if your, mindset towards the portal may have shifted any during the season.
My mindset is always about what's best for Clemson, and that's the way it's been for 16 years. And we do whatever that is. We've signed a kid out of the portal 2 out of the last 3 years. If you check our roster and our talent, we've got a really good roster, and we've been second or third in retention. But we will use whatever tool we have, just like whatever we have, and we make those decisions what's best for Clemson. And all that depends on who's leaving, who's back, who are your starters. Do you believe in those guys that you have? If not, then you've got to either have somebody that's coming in that you like a Wesco or TJ Moore that you think's elite, an Ashton Hampton that you want to spend the next few years with. You have some, or Peter Woods, or TJ Parker that you really know, hey, this guy is the guy. If you don't have that, then you try to go get that. So, but I think everybody's going to have to recruit the portal, with going to 105, and the way the system is set up. So we just haven't had many guys leave our program that we haven't had the starter here that we believe in. So we just haven't. Most of the kids that have left our program have been backups, and they just want to go somewhere and play. So you have a decision to make, just like this past year, we had a decision to make with Ryan Linthicum. He was a guy, we lost a center who's on the active roster for the Raiders now, and Will Putnam, who was a really good player. Everybody else is back. And so we actually looked at a couple of portal guys but we didn't get them. And then we said, okay, let's give Ryan a chance this spring. And by the end of spring, we're like, we're good. This guy's going to get it done. And guess what? He has gotten it done. He's been as valuable a player that we have, and he's on his 4th year, and he's got another year. So that's what kept us out of the portal last year, is we really love the receivers that were coming in. We love our running back. We love Linthicum and where he was. A lot of people wanted me to go get a portal quarterback, but we believe in Cade Klubnik, and he's had a great year. So we had Sammy Brown coming in at linebacker to go along with Woodaz and Barrett. We had all them D linemen back, and we believe in those guys. So, I know there's a lot of narratives out there that people love to make up and write whatever they want to write and hear what they want to hear. We're going to do what's best for Clemson. We always do that. But it's what's best for Clemson is a reflection of what your roster looks like year in and year out. So, but I don't see, I see very few programs that won't have to sign some portal kids with, again, going to 105 and then just the way things have been set up.
Good afternoon, Coach. Wes Pruitt, 4-Star Sports Media. You spoke on it earlier a little bit about the recruiting process, the window moving. Just want to get a little more insight on not only your thought process on the recruiting window moving
John,
around, but
when you hold on, man, let me get this out there. All right, here we go. So when you look at what Dabo had to say there, and by the way, a very insightful call. We were on with Rhett Lashley too. We've got some clips from Rhett as well. Both coaches are excited, John, and this is kind of gonna get us into our championship week talk, which we're going to get even more in depth, and we're going to talk to Tony about this game tomorrow. What was your thoughts on what Dabo had to say? And like I said, it was a legitimate question about the portal. It was a legitimate question about how he recruit. What's his mindset on recruiting? And I've actually had a few guys that were on that call reach out to me and say, "Hey, I want to use your quote in the article." Perfectly fine. I mean, we are going to put one out as well, but I appreciate guys reaching out and saying, "Hey, we want to use your name, we want to use your quote." I appreciate that. That's cool. But Dabo, I mean, I wasn't trying to be Tyler from Spartanburg, folks, but Dabo gave what I thought was a hell of an answer right there, John. He didn't shy away from his portal. He told me straight up, "Hey, we've signed 2 or 3 guys. If you go back and look and do a little, and not he wasn't getting on to me, but he's just saying in general, you go back and do a little bit of research on them. They've signed some guys. It's not Deion Sanders, 30 people on the roster, but 2 or 3, I mean, and to Dabo's point, you can't say he doesn't use it because technically speaking, he does."
Yeah, everybody is using it across the country right now. So to Dabo's point, I see where he's coming from the last couple of years, because you do see more players option in and option out depending on where, like he brought up, maybe they're just not happy where they're at, being a starter or whatnot. And maybe they just want to be a starter somewhere else where they can earn that position going forward at like a new school. So to him to answer that question and perfectly answer right off the bat, I was very encouraged by Dabo even taking the time to answer that, because in a couple of weeks it'll be definitely interesting to see how early signing day actually ends up at certain schools too, going forward. As you see some players even commit to schools right now in general in these couple of weeks, as a lot of decommits happen today across the country.
A lot did, and of course we're going to see more and more and more, and it's going to happen more and more and more, as we know, right? It happens every year. The portal is getting ready to open. What, in 3 days? Is that right? It opens
January 4th,
Thursday. Is that right? I think it's Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday, yeah, something like that.
But yeah, I think it is. I think. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think it's the fourth. But man, good stuff right there from Dabo Sweeney, and a guy that, you know what, man. Say what you want about him, he can coach. You can't say he can't coach. You can't say he can't. That he doesn't motivate, because we know he does. We've literally watched it happen. So, but no, big time stuff, man, from Dabo. I enjoyed having a conversation with Dabo today, as well as Rhett Lashley, and looking forward to tomorrow when we talk to Tom Panetti, the American Athletic Conference commissioner, at 11 a.m., followed by Jeff Monken from Army, and followed by, oh, John, they got in there.
The hottest
Tulane.
commodity right now in John
Yeah,
Summerall.
I think he may be, and of course I know Silverfield's name was put on a football scoop
Yeah.
article regarding North Carolina. I think John Summerall is a name that's gonna continue to get hotter and hotter and hotter, because I think he, in time, ends up being the next guy to make the jump.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you this, John: Do you really go to Tulane for a year
I know,
and
right?
then make a jump? I mean, not gonna lie, man, it's very kind of Lane Kiffinish right there. But
I mean, you did bring up in years past, or not years past, but like this whole year on social media, do you really want to follow a legend? Like, for example, Mac Brown in North Carolina. I know Gus Malzahn was over there for 4 seasons at UCF, but do
yeah,
you really want to follow those big steps and go to UCF? And then let's just say if Ryan Day does get fired at Ohio State and Ross Rourke does make the move, which there is talk right now that he might be staying now because Ross Rourke made a statement today. He does have a respect for him and he's back behind him 100%. And they just
yeah.
want to focus on playoff now. But let's just say if Ryan Day does get let go, did John Summerall leave Tulane to go to Ohio State and leave to go to Ohio State? I don't know. But those three schools, you're going to be leaving great coaches.
Yeah.
So
They are.
I would stay at Tulane if I'm Summerall right now. You got it made. You had it made at Troy, but you just want to go to a better conference at Tulane. And to leave Tulane after one season, after only finishing one loss in the American, I would stay in the American right now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Tulane; they're favored right now going into facing an Army team that's 10-1. The Army's undefeated in conference play. But John, let's start with the ACC. Clemson backdoors in there, thanks to Syracuse. And as a matter of fact, Dabo talked today on the call about the head coach from Syracuse. Dabo called it FaceTime calling, or the FaceTime is what he was calling it, which made me chuckle. But he is another reporter asked him what he said, and he was like, it was very colorful, meaning there was some language in there, in the excitement. But let's just talk about this. I mean, SMU obviously has been there for what, a couple weeks now. Is they're continue to roll, they're completely rolling. Um, and then, like I said, Clemson backdoors in. This is now their 10th conference championship appearance. They've been there before. SMU's been there before just last year, albeit for the American. I think this is a hell of a football game right here. I don't want to give picks away quite yet, but what's your thoughts on SMU, by the way? And we're going to talk about this at a larger scale here at the end, but what's your thoughts on SMU? New team, new year, new me, and new year, I'm in your conference championship game.
Yeah, SMU to finish the year 11-1, which I had SMU probably winning the ACC this year outright because I thought Preston Stone could be in New York. But the way that SMU has done it with a backup quarterback, um, and Jennings, right? That's his last name, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So for him to come in and produce the way he did, not only throwing the football, also by running the football under
Yeah.
Lashley's offense, but to win back-to-back 11-win seasons for the SMU Mustangs, this is quite an accomplishment for the SMU program. But I'm not giving my pick away yet right now, but I think the winner of this game definitely is going to probably be in the top 12, for that playoff spot.
Oh, I completely agree. And I mean, the conference championship game we're going to talk about
Right.
next is a game that I mean, if SMU follows suit and does beat Clemson, the American Conference game can have a lot of eyes on it because here's the kicker. It is the highest ranked top 4 conference champions that get the first 4 buys.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say anything about group of 5. This is what we've been talking about for the last couple weeks. In my opinion, I think we could very well see Boise State win out and knock off UNLV again,
Mm-hmm.
which would obviously put them in. And I think it gives them a potential bye in the first round, which is to the people that created this is just mind blowing, right? But I think if Army wins convincingly over Tulane, which I can see happening, I think you see Army sneak into the playoff as well
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think the Big 12 is going to get 2 teams in. So I think that Army potentially could sneak their way in. What's your thoughts on that, John?
I'm going to disagree on that just because Army right now is 23 in the coaches poll,
Mhm.
24 in the AP poll. Meanwhile, you got UNLV 19 in both the AP and the coaches poll. So that's one reason I'm going to probably if Army does win, that's one reason I might just have to disagree with you that because yeah, UNLV does have a shot over Boise, but I just don't see how Army will jump over UNLV if UNLV beats Boise.
Well, if UNLV beats Boise, that changes everything. The
Right.
whole kicker is if Boise wins and then Army wins convincingly, then that's when you see the shakeup.
I don't
But
know. Boise's still ranked pretty high right now, bro. Boise State is like ranked 10th in the AP and 10th in the coaches. So
oh
I
no
hardly,
no no, I
yeah,
know. I
yeah,
mean, but if UNLV beats Boise, it doesn't matter where Boise's ranked because UNLV is the conference champion.
right.
But if Boise wins that game, Boise I think gets the bye. And then I think that's where things get very
Okay,
interesting. And I think you could potentially see, depending on
okay.
how the American game goes, but you could potentially see possibly another group of 5, Power 5, whatever, group of
That's
whatever.
that's why we have talked about this numerous times. The Army Navy game just definitely needs to be moved. We talked this numerous times. It needs to be moved. The last game on the regular schedule.
But at the end of the day, what does that do?
I mean, think about it though. Like if we put it on like November 30th and let that game count, it could help you out in that playoff spot.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
think about
I
it,
can
if
see that. I can
somehow,
see
like
that.
you said, let's just say UNLV is not ranked at all though, and
Mhm.
Boise and Army are like neck and neck in those standings or whatever rankings. Maybe
Mhm.
like one team is like 15, one team is like 17. Of course, Army is probably gonna be in the conference championship, like we just brought up though. But that's one reason with Army possibly playing back to back to back weeks on the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st. Although the game on the 14th would not matter,
Mhm.
that's one reason that game should be moved to November.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also understand um, from the conference perspective. I also understand where they're coming from there. All right, man. Let's take a little road trip, John. Let's time. It's time for. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I said road trip.
Yep. Take a little road trip, man. So let's start with the Conference USA Championship. It's on Friday night, 6 p.m. As we talked about last night, CBS Sports. Jacksonville State comes in 8-4. Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, come in 8-4 as well. What's your thoughts on these two teams competing for a conference championship? I think this is going to be a very exciting ball game.
So basically, it's a rematch of yesterday's football game down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, right? So
Literally, and I actually had people argue with me, and they're like, "They played Friday, they played Saturday." I'm like, "Yeah, they're playing again." Same thing with Memphis and Cincinnati a few years ago.
right. So basically, back to back weekends. The only thing different is Jacksonville State gets to host Western Kentucky this time, rather
Yep.
than Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky won with 2 seconds to go yesterday on a field goal to beat Jacksonville State. My question is, how's Jacksonville State at home though, being at home this game when Western Kentucky won the head-to-head matchup?
Well, I believe it's because of the conference standings.
That's what I was about to look, but I totally forgot what they
Yeah,
were in the
I,
standings. But
I don't think Jacksonville State's lost many conference games.
yeah, they're in the Conference USA, right?
Correct. Yes.
So my apologies. Okay, yeah, so you are correct. Jacksonville State 7-1, so that was their only loss in the
Yeah.
conference. Western Kentucky is 6-2, so that
Yeah.
does make sense now.
Yeah.
Regarding that,
I knew they were really good in
yeah,
conference this year. And I mean, look, that's another guy, Rich Rodriguez. I understand he's doing well, doing really good down there. But John, he's a name that you could see pop up at maybe a Charlotte. I know Arkansas fans are kind of freaking out, kind of happy because Bobby Petrino talked to him.
hmm
So we'll get on. We'll talk about that later. But no, man. Give me. You know what, John? Give me Jacksonville State to get the win. Let's go ahead and pick. Give me Jacksonville State to get the win in this game here. What about you?
give me a score prediction. Why don't you? While you're at it,
I'm gonna go 34. I'll go 34-31 Jacksonville State. Missed field goal by Western Kentucky to tie it. A little drama for your mama.
that's that's crazy. That game's on a Friday night, and man,
6. Yep.
they could put that game on Saturday morning on CBS College Sports. So somebody
Amen,
dropped
brother.
the ball there,
Man, yeah. Put that out. Put it on at 9 a.m. I'll watch it.
or 10 a.m. one.
Yeah. Anything.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give me Western Kentucky Hilltoppers
Mm.
because they have beat them yesterday,
Mhm.
and also because the Rich Rod rumors are going around too. That could definitely impact a football team
Mhm.
unless somehow Rich Rod tells them before a game, "I'm taking another job," and the players play for him, like Memphis did for Norvell against Cincinnati.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. You know, brother,
but
that's
my
a
prediction will be 27-20 West Kentucky.
interesting.
As and the over and under for that game right now is at 56.5, by the way.
Yeah, I'm showing ESPN bet to be 58 and a
Okay,
half
right.
currently. But I mean, it doesn't matter. What's 2 points in that game? Up next, man, Mountain West, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Game's going to be on Fox, and that is between number 22 UNLV, the Fighting Barry Odoms, come in at 10-2, and Cinderella program. It's a quote the great Caddyshack Cinderella story. Number 11, Boise State, 11-1. Ashton Denty is running this team to the playoffs. Boise's a 3.5 point favorite. Over under is 58.5. He's ran over everybody, John.
Mm-hmm.
This will be number 2 for Barry Odom against him. But I don't think it matters, man. I think Boise State wins this ball game.
and I think they win by 17 points.
Score, please.
I mean, I'll have to do some math with the whole 17 thing, but I think Boise State will probably score anywhere from 35 to 42 points.
35 to 42 points. And then you got UNLV probably what 20 to 24 somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah. 3 scores and a field goal, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting game here because Boise State and UNLV has played each other before. The first time meeting, I believe, was in Vegas. This time it's in Boise on the blue turf, which is going to be looking beautiful. If they had like 3 inches of snow on the ground, it would make it more beautiful. Um, yeah, give me Boise 49, UNLV 24.
Ooh, okay. Okay. All right.
And he's going to have like 250 rushing.
Yeah, I mean, I think he breaks he's only 314 away from the rushing record. I think he breaks that record during the first game of the playoff, or his first game, whatever, their first game, whenever the hell that is, whether that's whatever. I think he breaks it then, and I think that is pure cinema when it happens. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch, man. That guy, I mean, we saw him last year when we were there covering the Memphis game live in person. I stood on the sidelines and watched this kid run by me. I've literally watched him. He's legit.
He reminds me of Ian Johnson when he played at Boise back in the day, too.
Yeah, 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 he does. Up next, man. How much more American do you have to get than the conference championship game being held at Army West Point? How much more American can you get? By the way, I feel bad for any Tulane fan that has to travel from New Orleans, Louisiana to West Point, New York. That is not just a quick little plane trip. It's a long way.
Why in the JFK, bro?
Yeah, it is. 10-1 Army comes in taking on 9-3 Tulane. Be 7 p.m. Central Time on ABC, and it will be on ABC for the 10th consecutive season. So shout out to the conference for that. Coverage will begin on ESPN Plus with the American Football Championship pregame show. Starts at 6 p.m. for those of you that didn't know that. Army clinched home field advantage for the championship game by its 29-24 win over UTSA on Saturday, which capped off a perfect season in conference play. Its first year in the American, and I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh my God, they got the most easy schedule ever. They didn't play this team, and they didn't play this team, and they didn't play this team. You can't control the teams that's on your schedule nowadays, folks. You can to a certain degree, but you got to play who's in front of you. And they did, and they won 10 times. That's all there's to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say. Mitchie Stadium, which was named by Sports Illustrated as the number 3 rated sports venue in the world, by the way, John, will host a conference championship game for the very first time. How cool is that? Real quick, man, just while we're talking about that, how cool is that for the Army Black Knights, man?
Yeah, very cool because especially when their stadium is doing renovations right now, it's down to 30,000 capacity. Where after renovations get done on the new east side, it's going to be opening up back up to 36,000. But pretty cool to see Army host a playoff or not a playoff game, but to for a conference championship in year one in the American.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. And look, here's the thing: these two teams are not strangers to each other. They've played 23 times, first time being back in 1953. Tulane does hold an all-time record of 13-9-1, and it's won the last 4 meetings, most recently being a 38-12 win in New Orleans in 2020. That is the 8th time, John, that Army has finished 8-0. I'm sorry, Army is the 8th team to finish 8-0 in American Athletic Conference play. Joining what teams, John, do you think? You think you can think back? Joining Central Florida in 2013,
joining joining Central Florida in 2013, 2017, and 2018, and then Cincinnati and Houston in 2021, and then Tulane and SMU last year. Army went 6-0 at home and has won 8 consecutive home games as well. And when you look at um, this Army team, man, John, it starts and stops with their quarterback, Bryson Daly, as he has tied the single season record with his 24th and 25th rushing touchdown this past Saturday. He ties the conference mark set by former Navy quarterback Will Worth in 2016.
Mhm.
What's your thoughts on Mr. Daly leading the Black Knights?
Phenomenal quarterback. We talked about this. Who's the better team, Army or Navy? Like less than a month and a half ago now. And right now, I think Army quarterback is definitely showing why he maybe if Army was ranked in the top 20 all season long, maybe that quarterback would be going to New York for the Heisman finalists.
Very well could be, man. He had 27 attempts for 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was 10 of 17 for 190 yards and a touchdown passing in the 29-24 win over UTSA. That tied the American Athletic Conference record, like I said, with 24 and 25 rushing touchdowns on the season. Um, man, you look around the league and you look at Tulane, and they're coming in uh, a little wounded, coming off a loss to Memphis on Thanksgiving night. We talked about it that following night, but Memphis would end the Green Waves' 17-game American Athletic Conference winning streak during regular season, which matched the longest in conference history and was the longest active streak in FBS. When you look at this team, we just saw them, John. We just know how good, we just saw Tulane. Now, Tulane's got to travel. They've got to go play on the road. I don't know if you've checked the weather recently, but there's a lot of snow up in the northeast
Right.
portion of the country. And that's where West Point, New York is, by the way, folks. So that's going to be a little bit of a difference, big time culture shock there for guys from New Orleans, Louisiana, going and playing in snow and maybe even sub freezing temperatures. Um, we know the quarterback can play. Mensa. We just watched him. I like the young kid. I think he can really go, and I think he's going to be a real weapon for that team in the future, barring he sticks around. And I don't mean that as a shot. That's just today's college athletics. Um, what's your thoughts on this Tulane team, John? Memphis stifled them. Now Memphis shut the run game completely down for them in that game Thursday night. But now it's different. Now you got to get ready for a triple option attack that you don't normally see.
Yeah, you brought up a great point. Memphis did stop Tulane's running game, held their best running back and one of the top running backs in the country that's been averaging about 200 plus rushing yards a game. But the key for Tulane in this game, of course, third and long, you're going to have to get off the field because I know Army not only runs the football on 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6, but they also can chuck it downfield for big plays on offense.
Yep.
So Tulane's defense better be ready for that department as well. And that's going to be one of the keys going in. And I also think special teams could come and factor in this game. So Tulane better capitalize on that. And then the freshman quarterback that Tulane's got also is definitely going to have to handle a little bit of pressure because I think Army defensive line can give them a little bit of problems as well in this game. So I'll go and do my prediction now while I'm talking about it then. But
Sure.
I'll go ahead and give me Army 24, Tulane 17 in overtime.
Did you say overtime?
Yes, sir. Not
Just
one,
one?
just one.
Okay. I was about to say this ain't a Georgia Tech situation.
Nah. It
Okay. Okay.
would be nice
Dang.
though.
It's a long night there, buddy. Um, I think Army wins the game. And I think Army actually wins the game by 2 scores. Give me Army 31. Give me Tulane 21.
I mean, the question is John Summerall going to be a hurry up offense, or is he just going to be patient like Memphis did on offense, you know, last week against Tulane? Because Army does have some defensive players that can capitalize on turnovers and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's going to be interesting going forward because I think you're going to have to keep Army off the field if you're Tulane. I know you're a hurry up team, but the time possession, of course, is going to be in Army's favor all game long.
Well, I mean, here's my question, John. If you're, I mean, how do you keep them? How do you keep them off the field?
Wait till 2 seconds on the play clock and hide the ball.
That's a lot easier said than done. I mean, I mean, God, you act like let's just do that. That's gonna be easy.
Well, Memphis can do it. Tulane can do it.
I mean, Memphis did Memphis do it? They lost to Navy.
Well, true, but I'm just talking about the Tulane matchup.
Oh, yeah. The Tulane matchup. Yes. Okay. Touche. All right, man. Let's jump over to the Big 12 championship, which is going to be a lot of fun, I think. Number 18, Iowa State comes in 10-2. This game's Saturday morning, 11 a.m. on ABC, by the way. Number 16, Arizona State comes in 10-2 as well, as Arizona State is a 2.5-point favorite, over under being 50.5. John, this is two coaches that we've been talking about all season. It's two coaches we've been talking about since last season, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Dillingham for Arizona State, Matt Campbell for Iowa State. Really, this Iowa State team, I feel like, it's just kind of been forgotten about. Rocco Beck and company at quarterback. Matt Campbell's just kind of slowly. A 10-win season for the first time in program history this year for Iowa State. This game is not going to be a snoozer. I think this game's going to be really exciting. And give me Arizona State. I think they win by 7, and I think they score late to get the win, John.
So high scoring or low scoring?
How about mediocre? Like 34-28, something like that.
I'm writing all this stuff down, by the way.
Yeah.
34-28.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you brought up coaching matchups. Matt Campbell versus Coach Dillingham. This is remarkable how in a couple of years you can give a coach some time and he turns it around by going from predicted dead last by a lot of media outlets to finishing first or second in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And just credit Coach Dillingham. Well, first of all, credit all Norvell's assistant coaches that are now head coach. So, yeah, Dillingham came from a good coaching background in Coach Norvell. But, yeah, like you said, it's a great matchup between two defensive minds and offensive minds also because Iowa State, they're kind of even. Both teams are even at 430 total yards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one reason I think this could very well could be an offensive affair. And then they're both teams are averaging about 240 on average on defense as well, giving up. So they're kind of evenly matched. And it's a good thing is I love this matchup. I really do. I think, like you said, Arizona State prevails. But I kind of could see this being like a 24-20 type ball game. Because I think Coach Dillingham is a great defensive mind. And it's turning
John.
Arizona State as well. So
yeah. One name to remember, and it's a name that you've heard all year if you've been paying attention to college football, is Cam Scatabo.
Oh, yeah.
You're familiar with who that is, I'm sure. 5'11", 215 from Rio Linda, California. Senior running back, number 4 for the Sun Devils. He's rushed for 1,398 yards, 17 touchdowns, an average of 5.7 yards a carry, and in the absolute ass-kicking against Arizona recently, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute too. 49-7 against the Wildcats. He had 177 yards, an average of 8.4 yards a rush, and 3 rushing touchdowns. John, this guy right here is running the ball like no other. And I think he's going to run Arizona State right to the playoff.
He's like a bowling ball out there. But also, we forgot one other player, Sam Levitt, the freshman quarterback,
He played.
2,444 passing yards as a true freshman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so credit the Sun Devils there, too. Great offense.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. All right, man. Up next, it's a game that I don't feel like anybody's going to watch around the country, and that's number 7, Georgia Bulldogs, and the number 3, Texas Longhorns. 3 p.m. ABC. Texas comes in a 2.5-point favorite. If you remember back, just a few weeks ago, we saw these two teams absolutely in a dogfight in Austin, Texas. I think it's going to be exactly that again. It's going to be an absolute battle in Atlanta, SEC championship. I also feel very certain that both of these teams make Texas is in. I think Georgia is in as well. I think when you look at Georgia and you look at how they've played this year, yes, I understand that would put them at 3 losses. But as I stated earlier on social media, everyone knew last year that with the expansion, you're going to have teams that had 2 and maybe 3 losses make this bracket. It's going to happen this year, and I think Georgia is going to be one of those teams. I don't think Georgia wins the conference championship. I think Texas gets the win. I think Texas wins this game by 10 points, and I think they win 48-38. What about you, John?
The average ticket prices for that game right now are $400 in the upper deck, about $1,000 in the lower deck in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So if anybody needs a ticket, definitely go to SeatGeek for that promo code that we gave you earlier. Yeah, interesting matchup. Georgia won the first meeting, 30-15 down in Austin, Texas, where Georgia just wanted to make a statement after that Alabama loss, and they definitely did in that first meeting. But the way that the defense is kind of questionable right now for Georgia. The secondary is a little bit banged up, and then just to find out today, their corner that started 10 games is going to be entering the portal now. Bye-bye, whatever happens. Good luck to you. Georgia, it's going to be interesting because Carson Beck is playing one of his best games, the last couple of games as well for Georgia, while Quentin Ewers is a little bit banged up as well. So Georgia can put a little bit more pressure on Quentin Ewers. I think Georgia definitely has a shot in this game. You know what? It's a home game in Athens, or not in Athens, but in Atlanta. It might be like 75% to 25% Texas fans. So that's one reason I'm picking Georgia, 31-28 in this ball game.
I think Texas travels really
I do too,
well.
but I just think we've seen it over the years though how much Georgia fans still outnumber fans, in this department.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, man. Up next, big time ball game as the Louisiana Raging Cajuns take on the Marshall Thundering Herd. Marshall comes in at 9-3. This game will take place Saturday night, 6:30 ESPN. With Louisiana coming in at 10-2. John, give me a shocker here. Give me the Thundering Herd to get their 10th win of the season and win the Sun Belt Conference. By the way, I've spoken to their coach a few times on the Sun Belt call, which will be on tomorrow, John. And he is a blast to talk to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you on that. Give me Marshall as well, 27-17. I just think he's coaching at his best high right now. We got to remember Marshall beat Notre Dame a couple years ago in South Bend,
Mhm.
and they are champions. Going to be champions in Sun Belt this year. And now Coach Huff can just tell Southern Miss, "Sorry, I'm not interested in your position after all," and become official. I know he's saying right now he ain't going there, but he's going to make a statement and say, "I'm not going to Southern Miss," and bring Marshall a Sun Belt tournament championship.
I don't. I don't. I mean, why would he leave Marshall and go
Right.
to Southern? I don't understand that move. Okay. Up next, man. 7 p.m. CBS. 11-1 Penn State Nittany Lions, number 4 in the nation. Honestly, John, look to cause pure damn chaos because they're taking on number 1 undefeated Oregon Ducks. Quack quack. For the Big Ten championship. I think Oregon wins this game. By the way, I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. But I don't think it's easy, and I think Penn State gives them a hell of a game.
Shootout, low scoring.
I think it's a shootout. I think it's gonna be 48-41.
Hey, you love these high scoring games, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You expect a lot of fireworks and then a lot of trash talk throughout this game. Uh, yeah, I think Oregon wins. I think they got the better quarterback on the field, and I think Dylan Gabriel wins 37-27.
10 points, really? Okay. 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 All right. All right.
Hey,
All right.
good old Danny boy, go get him a Big Ten championship and get that 1 seed.
Okay. So now to the last one, the ACC championship, and I did this on purpose. If you've been paying attention to my picks tonight, there's a trend. I'm going to pick SMU to win the conference championship in the ACC, which would mean that I pick SMU, Oregon, Texas, Arizona State to win conference championships. What, 3 out of the 4 of those teams, first time being in the league? This is why football expansion is not a bad thing, folks. Everybody wanted to complain about, oh, we're going to smash Texas when they get in the SEC. Well, look at them now. Look at them. Bama fans can't say crap about Oklahoma. I don't want to hear nothing from them about Oklahoma. And then people call the American the CUSA 2.0, which is just stupid. And then I love people that are like, well, Memphis should be in the conference championship game. Well, if they should have won one more game. They would have been there. Just one.
She never came out flat against Navy.
Or UTSA. But when you look around college football, this is the weekend that everybody gets excited for. This is I mean, because then it's bowl mania, which we're all going to be excited about.
Mm-hmm.
But John, as we jump over to our final thoughts.
By the way, go ahead and give me SMU also 27-24.
Okay. Really?
What do you got for what do you got for a score?
In that game?
Yeah.
Give me. Oh, that's a tough one. Give me SMU 45, Clemson 38.
Regulation.
Yes.
I think SMU just got the better quarterback. I really do in this game.
I think SMU's just got the better team.
Right.
I just think it's all phases. And I'll be honest with you, I think Red Lashley's a coach that you cannot sleep on.
And
The
SMU better
guy
pay some
can run a
money.
damn offense. He will. Oh, you're dang right. They better ante up. They may have paid to get in the ACC. They need to pay to keep his ass for sure. All right, man. Let's jump over to final thoughts here as we close out the show tonight. We appreciate everybody watching over on YouTube and on our Twitter pages as well. We'll get the audio posted up on Facebook and to our website here momentarily after we finish the show. But John, as we close out, man, let's take a look at two things. First, let's take a look at our top 12 college football rankings, and I'll let you go first because you got a few to read off here.
Yeah, I got a UCF fan that's been watching our show lately, and he gave me his top 12, and Eric Edwards. So his number one was
Better not
Oregon.
have you. He better not have UCF in it.
He don't, because they finished the year 4-8. But Oregon's number one, Texas number two, Penn State number three, Notre Dame number four, Georgia 5, Tennessee, or not Tennessee, SMU 6, Tennessee 7, Ohio State 8, Indiana 9, Arizona State 10, Clemson 11, and then Boise at 12. So what's your thoughts on Mr. Edwards' picks, first of all? Kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's interesting. I mean, looking at mine, it's similar in some aspects.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a one-loss Indiana team that lost to, at the time, the number 2 team in Ohio State. I understand they lost to Ohio State, but they don't have a bad loss.
Mm-mm.
Michigan was not a good loss for Ohio State. So that's the only kind of, I don't know. What you got next?
Yeah, then I got Matt Shelton, a former guest of ours, who's a former Notre Dame grad. Let's just give him some props on his top 12. He's got Texas number 2, Oregon number 1, Penn State number 3, Notre Dame number 4, Georgia 5, Tennessee 6, SMU 7, Ohio State 8, Indiana 9, Boise 10, Arizona State 11, and then Miami at 12. The reason that he has Miami at 12 is because he thinks that Syracuse is really not a bad loss per se because they finished the year pretty strong at 9-3.
I would agree there.
And then Mr. Blake Hogues, we got Oregon 1, Texas 2, Penn State 3, Notre Dame 4, Georgia 5, Tennessee 6, Indiana 7, SMU 8, Boise 9, Ohio State goes down to 10, Arizona State 11, and then Ole Miss at 12.
Interesting.
So the reason that he has Ohio State going down to 10, I think is because Georgia, same thing that happened to Georgia when they lost to Ole Miss. So that totally makes sense regarding why he's got Ohio State at 10. And I guess he's looking at Ole Miss from I know he can't, maybe because they lost to a bad team in Kentucky, although they still got some great wins under their belt. And then think about it, Florida is improving maybe. So that's why he's got Ole Miss at 12.
Yeah.
And then my top 12 will be Oregon 1, Texas 2, Penn State 3, Notre Dame 4, Georgia 5, Tennessee 6, SMU 7. Then I get Ohio State 8, Indiana 9, Boise State 10, Arizona State 11, and then Miami 12. Same reason that Matt's got Miami at 12, because that Syracuse is 9-3 on the season. But the reason I dropped Ohio State to 8 is because of what happened against Michigan. But they also got the head-to-head over Indiana, is why Ohio State's at 8, Indiana's at 9.
Okay. Mine is Oregon 1, Texas 2, Penn State 3, Notre Dame 4, Georgia 5, SMU 6, Arizona State 7, Boise State 8, Indiana 9, Ohio State 10, Miami. Michigan was on my brain. Sorry, Miami popped his head up. Miami at 11. I'm sorry. Yeah, Miami at 11. And then I got a tie at 12 right now. Blake did it last week, and I get it. So it's a tie, and I'm going to piss Alabama fans off, and I don't care. It's a tie between South Carolina and Tennessee for 12. What's your thoughts, John? I know you got something to say. I can tell.
I'm like, Tennessee jumping that far after you had them in like your top 10 last week? Gosh. What did they do to you this past week?
Other teams perform. I mean, other teams continue to perform well. Look at that South Carolina win is huge, John. It's huge. You can't say it's not. I'm not saying the Vanderbilt win was not a good win. It's not what I'm saying. But go look at South Carolina's resume. Go look at what they've done this year.
I'm talking about Tennessee, not no
Oh, I
South
understand.
Carolina here.
I understand. And I mean, yes, I mean, honestly, I probably could have put Tennessee at 7 and Arizona State down there, but I feel like Arizona State is the front runner in the Big 12 right now. So I feel like I have to have them up with the other front runners in these conferences
Okay.
in my rankings, if that makes sense. That's really the reasoning behind why Tennessee is where they are. Also, when I formulate this, I'm also thinking about bracket at the same time. But I think, honestly, I think South Carolina gets in. I do.
I just don't see it right now.
I mean, Oregon's in. I don't care what happens, they're in, right? Texas is in, right?
Yeah, because they'll have only 2 losses.
Right. Okay. Penn State.
They only got what, 1 loss right now?
If they win, they're in. I think they're in either way. Notre Dame, I think, is in either way. Rightfully so. You can argue about that if you want to. Georgia, I also think, is in, right?
Right.
SMU's in. So my top 6 are locks, right? And then that's when I get to the guys that are almost locks. That's where Tennessee sits at, right? That's where Tennessee in my mind is about 7 or 8.
Okay.
But because of the bracket, how it forms out, all that, you have to have a Big 12. You would have to have a Big 12 champion up there. Tennessee's not playing for their conference championship, so that would, in my mind, put them down lower than a conference champion. Which is why I have Arizona where I have them. I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And the thing is, Tuesday night's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But then the following Tuesday night is when, shit get crazy. What's your thoughts on my top 12, by the way?
I do like it, but I was just shocked by the Tennessee number 12. To be honest with you, I guess I understand, but you've always said all season long you cannot control scheduling because you really did not expect North Carolina State to fall apart after that second game of the season when Tennessee played them, when North Carolina State was ranked 24th, and then when they played Oklahoma, who was ranked 15th at the time, on the 4th game of the season to fall apart. So
you can't control it. I mean, it's just like
they can't control it.
People want to the number one record people throw out is, oh well, such and such is a record against teams with winning records. Okay, you're looking at the record at the end of the season when most people say that. What is the record when they play at the time they play? That's what makes the difference, right? So I mean,
By the way, this has been a blast. Putting this, I mean, I feel like we've created our own little college football playoff committee here. Um, this has been a blast. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and also I want to do this for college basketball too. Create a top 12, top 15, something. Um,
I
or
also
a
want to, yeah, I also want to
go
say
ahead.
this real quick. How is Dylan Sampson not a Doak Walker Award finalist? That is beyond me. 20 plus rushing touchdowns on the season, man, and he's not
Yeah,
a finalist.
yeah.
That's just shocking.
If he's not a finalist, then he's right there on the cusp of being a finalist.
But still, you
Um,
mean to tell me there's
I agree.
another running back right now that's playing decent ball? Come on.
Oh, I mean, Genty.
Well, he's gonna be a Heisman finalist. Why he ain't on the Doak Walker Award finalist?
I mean,
But
I think Mario Anderson's had a pretty good season too.
yeah,
Um, not 20 touchdowns, but he's had a good season. No, man. Once again, we appreciate everybody watching and listening. And John, as we close out, man, let's close out with a little somberness. We've seen a lot of coaches moving around, a lot of pieces moving around. We talked about last night. Gus Malzahn is now going to be at Tallahassee. It's going to be very interesting to watch how that transpires. Um, we saw some coaches today make some moves as well, John. So as we close the show, we got about another 5 minutes left. But as we close the show, man, what are some coaches that are on the move now, John?
yeah. The coaches that are on the move right now is Neil Brown from West Virginia. Good 6 year. He was a former Troy coach that went on to West Virginia. So Neil Brown was one of them. Mike McIntyre from Florida International. We talked about his name all season long, and then I think Florida International did the right thing by waiting until the end of the season to letting him go. But he could very well be a DC candidate down the road somewhere because he's had that success as a DC across his tenure. And you never know, Mike Norvell might be giving him a phone call and say, "Hey, do you want to be my DC down in Tallahassee?" So maybe he'll stay in the state of Florida. And then, of course, we talked about it. Matt Brown at North Carolina is like he said yesterday in his post game interview, that he said, she said right now on when he basically was forced out. And Jerry Mack got the job today at Kennesaw State, so kudos to him on getting a new coaching gig from the Jacksonville Jaguars running back coach. And that's a good hire, I think, for Kennesaw State going forward, too. What's your thoughts on that one, real quick?
I like the hire. I think he's going to be successful there. I mean, they've only been around 1 year. I mean, at this level, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be very, very successful there. I think he's. I mean, you look at the job he's did at his previous stops, and at the same time, I think I like the younger hire for some reason, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Mac Brown was a great coach. I
Mm-hmm.
think you're going to see North Carolina go with a younger hire. Um, don't be shocked if a guy like Jamie Chadwell doesn't end up out there in Chapel Hill. That's a younger guy, right? But you're going to find more and more. I think these teams, especially with the general managers like Andrew Luck, we saw hired at Stanford. I think you're going to
Great
see more
hire.
coaches. It would completely agree. And I think speaking of Mac Brown, that's a guy that I put it on social media. If I was a team looking for a general manager to be over my program, hire him. And if you're North Carolina, why the hell did you not hire him? Why'd you not just say, okay, coach, we don't want you to be a football coach anymore, but here's what
Right.
we want you to do. We want you to be the GM. He would have probably done it. Think about it, John. 16 years of his however long he coached was in Chapel Hill.
That's crazy. 16 years fly by just like that.
Yeah. I mean, now keep in mind, it was 2 stints. I mean, he was there prior and then he came back. But no, man, I think it's a great hire by Kennesaw State, and I think it's going to be a lot of very interesting things you're going to transpire. I think you're going to see possibly an Ohio State job come open. But then think about it. Last year, Chip Kelly just ups and leaves UCLA and goes and is an offensive coordinator. These type of things can happen too. So it's going to be very interesting to see what transpires. There's fans in Fayetteville. There's fans in Memphis, Tennessee that want the current head coach fired. So might as well keep an eye on that too. Not that I think he's going to happen, but yeah, it's going to be a lot
Yeah,
of fun, man.
Also, Rice made a hiring this week as well, and Rice hired what is his name? Escapes me right now. Scott Abel is their new football coach. So congratulations to Rice on hiring their new football coach. And then Temple also hired Casey Killer today from Sam Houston State right after their football game this past weekend.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, interesting stuff, man. And look, we've been talking about this carousel since it started spinning. It's only going to continue to spin. It's only going to continue to spin faster, as we talked about last night. And we'll keep you abreast as to what's going on around the nation. But we appreciate everybody watching and listening tonight. And as always, folks, if you need anything 4-Star Sports Media related, head on over to 4star.live, as we are full of content, and it's continual content, folks. It's not just one show here, one show there. It's continual content throughout the week, continual content on our social media pages as well. John Sturdivant, I appreciate you jumping on with me tonight, man.
See you bright and early tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir, man. All right, man. Y'all behave. Y'all be good. We appreciate everybody. We'll be back tomorrow morning for another edition of the Sports Buffet. We appreciate everyone watching, listening. And as always, folks, stay classy.